Welcome back. We are here doing another episode of the Denial of the Day podcast. We deal with vendors all the time, if it's engineers, meteorologists, whatever they might be on the insurer side or the insured side. And interestingly enough, the folks over at Merlin Law Group, thank you again for another great blog post, have been
Mhm.
discussing something very specific, which is directly related to vendors and vendor programs, but more specifically, related to engineers. And so, Chris, can you show us the top of that?
Yeah, absolutely here. So this one's called What If Every Insurance Company Engineer Report Suggested Denied Claim? We're about to find out. So,
Right.
and then they go into a little more detail, not just denied claim, but like method of repair, which is going to be substantially less than, what it should be. So, long
Yeah.
story short, they're going to review from different sources, public adjusters, multiple engineer reports over the past 15 years and really kind of gauge to see how these reports are leaning. Are they leaning more towards the insured? Are they favorable to the insured? Are they unfavorable to the insured? Or are they neutral
Yeah.
or inclusive? So we see it all the time on our end, how we feel like it can be a little biased when the insurance company orders an engineer report.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see this study and how this all plays out and, what's going to come to fruition because of this study.
Yeah.
So,
A couple of things that I would add to your points is I have specifically asked on numerous occasions if that engineer that is hired by the insurance company would ever consider doing an engineer report for us, the insured.
mhm,
And the answer has been unequivocally no. They won't bite the hand that feeds them. They know if they do reports for us, then the insurance company questions their allegiance or whatever it is. Okay.
mhm,
And they will not do that. And I just then have to question, okay, if you're so concerned about that, then are you actually doing the right thing?
yeah,
I don't know. Probably not. Because
mhm,
if your method is fair to both sides, then why would you have an issue doing that? I know one engineer that is willing to do that, and he's one of the coolest guys I know. He calls balls, he calls strikes, and that's all we want. We just want you to be fair. Nothing
mhm,
else. If you're
mhm,
being fair to us and you are supposed to be, great. If you're being fair to the insurance company and you're supposed to be based on the evidence and the scientific backing of what you're seeing, then so be it. Like, we're not asking you to say the insurance company's wrong when they're actually right. But in return, we don't want you to tell us that we're wrong when you know we're right, when you
mhm.
absolutely know we're right. But we get these reports from engineers that get paid a ton of money from these insurance companies that tell us, oh, that's not hail, that's bird poop, or whatever the hell they
Mhm.
come up with. Oh, that was a pre existing. Oh, was it? What exactly caused it? And so they never answer. Then we ask them a very specific question. What scientific backing do you have for this? What scientific experimentation did you do to come up with this conclusion? Guess what the answer is? Zero, none. I've never gotten an engineer to say, oh, you know what? This is what we did, unless the engineer meeting was specifically for that. So I have been to an engineer meeting where they took a sample and then they sent it to a lab to test it for hail damage, right?
Mhm.
Of course, we're doing that specifically. But when you come up with an opinion that is not based in scientific fact, that then sways the outcome of the insurance claim, that's not fair. That's not fair to the insured. And technically, that's the only reason you're here. The only reason that you are here as a vendor or an engineer is because the insured has a policy with the insurance company that hired you.
Mhm.
So we could talk about this for hours, but yeah, just like you said, sometimes it's super biased. Other times it's not. There's one other engineer that I know. The other guy that I was speaking about was more specifically residential. This guy that I'm speaking about in my mind is definitely more commercial. I've seen him on some of the largest losses I've ever worked on,
Mhm.
and he has been extremely fair.
Mhm.
He has told me that I'm wrong. Here's the reason why, and let me show you. And I was like, oh, hey man, thanks for showing that, to me, pointing that out. I appreciate it. But then he'd flip it around and be like, hey, this is the reason you're right. On this roof over here, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, balls and strikes. That's all we want. Be fair. But when you And like we run into the same engineers, same vendors a lot of the time on these large loss claims because there's not many people that can handle those. And
Mhm.
you consistently say, oh, that's not hail damage. Well, what is it? I don't know, but it's not hail damage. Dude, that's not
Mhm.
the right response. That's not
Yeah.
scientific. You can't tell me that it's not hail damage, but you just think it isn't.
Mhm.
That's BS. And so it's interesting that they're doing this. There's a lot of things that we have to wait on for them to actually go through the process to figure out what they're seeing. But I have a hunch, and I know you do, Chris. But
Mhm.
ultimately, all we're asking for you to do is be fair. Simple as that.
Yeah. Be fair.
Yeah.
And Taylor, it's a good thing that you brought that up too, kind of that scientific evidence. And a lot of engineers report, we see that they rely heavily just on weather data, and that can be extremely subjective too, because there's so many different programs out there that state
Yeah.
so many different things as far as the size of hail or wind
Right.
that hit that property on that particular date. So if you're just basing it off of that, it's kind of like, come on, guys, really? So there's
And
just so many
Chris,
things.
you and I have talked about this specifically. The May 8th, 2017 hailstorm that was on the west side of Denver. I met the adjuster there. His report from a very well known, very large company said that no larger than 0.75-inch hail hit that building that we were at.
Hmm.
We went and saw fresh hail spatter from like 2 weeks prior, 3 weeks prior, that was almost 3 inches. And so I was like, do you think your report is right, or do you think this evidence that we're seeing right here is correct? And the damage
Hmm.
to skylights, cap metal, the metal roof, the standing seam metal roof, like signs,
Hmm.
the light posts out in the parking lot, like 0.75-inch hail doesn't do any of that.
Hmm.
But 2.75-inch, almost 3 inch hail absolutely does all of that. So you're
Big
right.
difference.
I mean, I give them a benefit of the doubt. Like, reports are incorrect, but just like you said, most of these reports are running based on algorithms, which nobody really knows what that means. But, if a substantial size hail, the Doppler radar, wind, things like that, they're fairly accurate, but sometimes they're completely wrong. And for an engineer to base it on a wrong report, which
Hmm.
they have done before, and I've caught them doing that, that's unfair to the insured. And that is the biggest thing is be fair to the insured, be fair to the insurer. Both
Hmm.
sides deserve to be fair, fairly treated, and then the outcome should stand on its own, not because you're getting paid by someone. Just throwing that
Yeah.
out. Chris, final words.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we would like to see just everything on a level playing field.
Yeah.
And once that day happens, it's going to be amazing. And so it'll be fun to see kind of just how this study shakes out. So,
Yeah. Satan will be ice skating in hell when that happens, but hey, we can hope. All right, we can hope. All right. We'll see you next time. If you appreciate the content we're creating, please like, comment, and share it with the world and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. We are honored to be able to serve you. Thank you. We'll see you next time.